Hi, this is Jared Polak, founder of Entre Results, author of Entre Business, and author of Entre Balance, founder of Entre Results Academy, and founder of a wonderful business and life coaching company, Entre Results, back for a dynamic podcast today. So I'm writing and talking the beginning part of this year. This is January of 2018, so the beginning part of 2018 and when this podcast comes out. And one thing I love to do outside of work, I love to jog. And one thing that I love to do is just get out on one of these trails in Houston and just start running. And I go at a very slow trot. I don't go fast. And I just enjoy letting my mind kind of wander, observe nature, observe things around me. But really, I like going for a little bit of distance. And I'm not talking about marathon running necessarily, but 3 to 7 miles is kind of what I like to run. And when I think about the analogy of business, and I use that as an example just because I've used it a lot for business, is distance running is a lot like business. It's not necessarily something that we can always look at short term. We need to kind of take this long-term approach. There's ups and downs. You feel different throughout that long run, just like you feel different throughout that longevity of business. And so business is a jog, business is a marathon. Sometimes the analogy of business is a march. That works really well. Now today, though, I want to talk about something just a little bit different. And the question and the comment and the encouragement is when do we need to sprint? And I want to encourage you to think about a healthy sprint in the midst of your business marathon. So a lot of times in running, I like to sometimes run at the end of the jog every once in a while. You see the finish line, you run to the finish line. And then certainly every once in a while, just kind of getting going with a faster pace at the beginning of a run kind of gets your heart going, gets you going. And then every once in a while, sometimes in the middle, just feel like picking it up a notch. And so as that analogy applies to business, consider when does it make sense for you and when does it make sense for me to sprint or to run quickly in regards to our business. So I want to encourage you, especially at the beginning of the year, perhaps this is your season to do a little sprint to give your business a little boost to get going. And here's 5 reasons why this can be helpful. Number 1, a proactive sprint in business prevents reactive sprinting. So for example, you might proactively say, it's going to take me some extra time right now, or I'm going to have to get up a little bit earlier, but I'm going to put together some type of process for my business, or a checklist for my business, or a system for my business. I'm going to do something to build some foundational components of my business that's going to take a little sprint to do it right now, a little extra work, but it's going to have huge, significant impact on my business moving forward. So in essence, it might prevent reactive sprinting. What happens when you get to a situation where you need a process in place, you don't have it, but you need to provide something for a customer, or you have a sales prospect, you need to give them something. Well, that's going to force you to sprint, and that's going to be done sometimes in a time of life where it's not necessarily convenient. So that sprint could actually affect your personal life in a negative way as opposed to a proactive sprint. So do we want to be proactive with our sprinting or reactive with our sprinting? And certainly proactive is the way to go. Number 2, certainly beginning this year or beginning any year or beginning quarter or sometimes beginning the month, a little sprint is good and it sets the tone for the year, for the quarter, for the month, for the week, etc. So it's a mindset thing about just, hey, I'm going to do a little sprint at the beginning, and that kind of gets us going to set the mindset for the year. Number 3 is sprints sometimes give us quick wins, whatever that quick win might look like in the business. And so it feels good to get quick wins. So it keeps us motivated. Say we do a sprint at the beginning of the year, we get quick wins. That'll change our mindset to believe. It just feels good. It'll kind of give us a mental boost to be ready for the longer marathon that's ahead. Number 4, sprinting for a short amount of time sometimes helps give a boost to those around us that are supportive of our business. So perhaps we do a little sprint as the leader, and maybe some people on our team members, it encourages them to do a little sprint. So there's exponential growth. Or maybe a little sprint allows your vendors, people that support you in that way, to do a little sprint. Maybe you have referral partners for your business. You do a little sprint. It encourages them to do a little sprint. And so if you can do a sprint, it sort of encourages those around you, which can exponentially give a boost to your business. And 5, last and not least, increasing the desire not to have the sprint at all. So for example, sometimes when we sprint, we realize that, wow, this running is pretty hard, and we realize that we like the results we get from the sprint, but we can't maintain that sprint throughout. So for example, maybe in a business, you say, I'm going to sprint by going to 10 networking events this week, or just a crazy amount of phone calls this week in business development. And you realize when you do that, it gets you great results, and you like the results, but you realize, gosh, I love these results, but there's no way I can continue this sprint throughout the entire year. And so maybe it forces you to think of a better way to get the results that you want. So maybe as opposed to going 10 networking events, maybe you realize, wow, I love the results it gets, but man, I have to do something to leverage the internet to get leads, or I need to do something to leverage speaking engagements to get leads, or I need to do a better job in another way to get the results without having to maintain this sprint. So I want to challenge you, and like always, I want to challenge myself and my team to go out and think about this as a long-term jog, but in the midst of this jog or this marathon or this long march, when do we want to sprint? And maybe today, maybe this week, maybe beginning of the year, this is the time to sprint. So go out and make it happen.